Hello, everyone, and welcome to this age old story of the hare and the tortoise from the Aesop fables. And I'm sure all of you know this story. So you might ask me then, why this story? But believe me, there's more to the story than what we know about. So before we unfold the mystery of the story, let me just go through this story once again. So you know the hare and the tortoise are friends, and one day they have an argument about who could run faster among them. After a long fight, they decide to run a race to find out the truth. The hare started ahead and ran briskly for some time. He looked back, but the tortoise was nowhere to be seen. So he decides to take a nap and then continue the race. Meanwhile, the tortoise keeps moving and slowly crosses the sleeping hare, who was now in deep sleep. He never realized that the tortoise had already crossed past him and was heading towards the finishing line. Suddenly, the hare wakes up from his deep sleep and runs towards the finishing line, only to see the tortoise finish the race ahead of him. So the moral of the story, I know you know this one, slow and steady wins the race. This is a story that we know about, but you know what happened next? Come, let's see what happens. The hare was very disappointed. He knew he was faster than the tortoise, but had lost the race. He wondered about what had really gone wrong. He realized that he had become very complacent, careless, and overconfident. There's no way the tortoise could have defeated him if he had not taken things for granted. So he goes to the tortoise and challenges him for another race. The tortoise agrees. The second race. This time the hare makes no mistake. He goes all out and wins the race by several miles. Moral of the story. Any guesses? Well, let me tell you. You know this one, it's good to be slow and steady, but at times it's better to be fast and reliable. Does the story end here? No, it doesn't. Let's see what happens next. This time, the tortoise feels miserable about losing to the hare. He realizes that if he has to win the race, then he has to change the rules or come out with a new game strategy, or else he can never win the race because he knew that the hare was a good runner. After a lot of thinking, he goes to the hare and proposes a third race, but on a different route. The hare, being very confident, agrees. The third race. Keeping up to the promise that the hare had made to himself, he started ahead and ran at full speed. Just a few meters before the finishing line, the hare stopped suddenly. Right in front of him was a broad river. He did not know what to do because he could not swim. Heart of hearts, he knew that he's not going to make it this time. The tortoise, on the other hand, walked steadily and swam across the river and reached the finishing line and won the race. Moral of the story. Any thoughts? Always work to your strengths. Once you know your capabilities and your core competency, you can change the playing strategies to suit your strengths, just like how the tortoise did. Does the story end here? It doesn't. Let's see what happens next. By now, the tortoise and the hare had become good friends. They realized that the last race could have been better. So they decide to run another race, but this time as a team. So in the first half of the race, the hare carried the tortoise on his back till the river bank. From there, the tortoise took over and swam across the river with the hare on his back. On the opposite side of the bank, the hare then carried the tortoise on his back and finished the race together and with a record time. Both the hare and tortoise were so happy. They felt a sense of satisfaction that they had never experienced before. So what is the moral of the story? It's good to be brilliant individually, but as a team, if you can harness each other's capabilities, then the task is accomplished to perfection. Every story had a moral value to learn from. but there are a lot of more things to learn from these stories. What are those things that we learn? First and foremost, never give up even if you're faced with failure or defeat. Note that neither the hare nor the tortoise gave up after their failure. They both decided to work harder and put in more effort after their failure. Secondly, work to your strengths or competencies. The hare knew that he could run fast, and the tortoise knew that he could never win unless he changes the route to suit to his benefit. So sometimes it is good to change your strategy and then try something different. It might work to your advantage. And lastly, compete against the situation, not against a rival, because if you do that, then you will do much better. Because working as a team is always fruitful because you can easily beat individual players. So if we can adopt all these moral values that we have learned to our life, I'm sure our life will be much beautiful. We have to realize that at times in life we need to be slow and steady. At times it's very important to be quick, fast and consistent. And sometimes it is a mix of both, the slow and steady and the fast and reliable. At times in life, we need to make adjustments. We need to make adaptations. We need to understand our partner's weaknesses and strengths and work as a team. Only then we can make better teams. We can make a better life. We can make a better workplace. We can make a better home. So, which one among the four was your favorite story? If you cannot find one that actually related to you, then go ahead and write another tortoise and hare story. We are waiting for it, and make sure that you write it well. So bye bye till then.